want loads of clothes and fuck clothes.
Goods and services are the things that you as a consumer buy. You need to make sure to differentiate these from resources, which are the things that go into making the goods and services you buy. Resources go into making those products and services. There are 4 categories. They include land, which are any naturally occurring things that go into making goods and services. There are real capital resources. These are the manufactured aids to production of goods and services. Things like machines, tools, factory buildings, anything that is human-made and is used as an aid to production. You have to note that there is no such thing as money being a resource. Money is not a resource. The 3rd category is labor. Labor is the humans that you need to work with the capital and land resources to put a product or service together. And finally, you're going to have an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is the one that combines the other 3 resources of land, capital, and labor into some sort of productive endeavor. They're the boss, they're the risk taker. As in order to qualify as being a scarce good, it has to meet the requirements that it is something that is limited and desirable. Something can be limited but not desirable, and something can be desirable but not limited. Those won't count as being scarce goods then. This is a simplified production possibilities table for an imaginary country that produces something called links and produces something else called smiles. Notice that there's a constant trade-off between the two. A more realistic one is going to be concave. There will be shifts of the curve. If there are more resources available, it'll shift outward. Less resources, it'll shift inward. If you have a straight production possibilities curve, then the marginal opportunity costs will be constant. As you increase production of one good, you will continually have to give up the same amount of the other good. That's on a straight production possibilities curve. Constant trade-offs. On a concave production possibilities curve, the marginal opportunity cost will be increasing, meaning as you produce more and more of a certain good, like good A, every time you produce another unit, you have to give up more and more successively of good B. This is a simplified production possibilities curve because it has a straight line. It's showing the concept of total opportunity cost, in which if they ask you something like what is the total opportunity cost of producing 4 units of good A, you would then compare it to if you had made 0 of units of good A. And so at 0 units of good A, you could have had 12 units of good B. But because you're making 4 units of good A, you can only make 6 units of good B. Therefore, you went from 12 units of good B to 6 units of good B, losing 6 units of good B. In other words, the total opportunity cost of making 4 units of good A is 6 units of good B. This is the law of increasing marginal opportunity costs. This is the concept that as you make more and more of a product, you will successively have to give up more and more of the other product. Any concave production possibilities curve is illustrating the concept that you will have to give up more and more of the other product. The reason why there is increasing marginal opportunity costs is because the resources that go into making one good are not perfectly adaptable to making the other good. So for example, there were tables of workers that were better at making candy or axes or whatever than others that were better at making the other product, like broccoli or sharp rocks or something like that. The labor resources are not perfectly suited to making each. So remember that we talked about questions that ask about the optimal mix for a society. Where should they be operating on the production possibilities curve? The answer is always going to be it depends on the values of that society. It's not like it's a magic formula where you have to operate right at the midpoint. It depends on their values. No matter what, however, any society is going to want to they want to operate exactly where marginal cost equals marginal benefit. If they are operating at the optimal mix, they will find that when they moved there, let's say that this is a production possibilities curve for a society where their optimal mix occurs at combination D. At combination D, when they moved there from C, marginal cost equaled marginal benefit, so they should stay at D. If, however, they stopped, let's say they stopped at C, they were moving across in good X, and they stopped at C and found that their marginal benefit was greater than their marginal cost. What that means if they stop at C is that they have under-allocated resources toward the production of good X. They should have kept going and put even more resources into production of good X. Keep going until they reach combination D. If they stop at good C, it means they're making too much of good Y and they are over-allocating resources toward the production of Y. If they were at D and moved to E, they would find that the marginal benefit was less than the marginal cost, which means that they have over-allocated resources to the production of good X and under-allocated resources to the production of good Y. This is a production possibilities curve that is showing consumer goods, like the goods that we purchase for our households and for our ultimate personal use, to capital goods, those goods that are made to aid in the production of other goods. And assume that this economy is starting off at the first production possibilities curve. It will make a difference for this country's future economic growth, whether they operate at point A on the curve or point B on the curve. At point B, they're operating where they're making lots of consumer goods, which are like eaten up, yum yum, and then gone, and very few capital goods. But at point A, they are operating where they're making fewer consumer goods, but more capital goods. If you make more capital goods today, those capital goods, like robots and stuff, can be used to make more capital goods and consumer goods in the future. You have a greater chance of economic growth when you operate at point A than your growth rate will be when you operate at point B. These are the four basic economic questions that every society has to figure out how to answer. Um, the economic system established in a country is based on how they answer these questions, what process they use. This is a chart that is comparing the extremes of economic systems. One is on one end is going to be pure capitalism, and in pure capitalism, It's characterized by all four basic questions being answered by the market system, meaning individual buyers and individual sellers coming together in a marketplace to determine what will be made, how much will be made. How they make it is using a system of labor markets, and who gets it then is based on who earns money by having valuable resources that they sell in the marketplace. On the other end is socialism, that uses a very different system in which everyone's supposed to have equal share, kind of like a family. But then we talk about the extreme of communism, or the command economy, in which you have a very strong government that is going to enforce the sharing and the equal share of the load, and directs all the resources in the country. They own all the resources, and they are the ones that answer all the questions. In reality, all economies in the world are mixed systems. There is no such thing as pure capitalism or pure communism in any country in the world. They are all mixed systems in which a combination of buyers, sellers, and the government make up how they're going to answer those questions. What wasn't shown on the other slide was another type of economic system called a traditional economy, in which all four of the economic questions are answered based on what they've done traditionally in the past. So when they say, what will we make? Well, they look to what did our parents make? What did our grandparents make and our great-great-grandparents make? All those questions, how you make it, so forth, are all answered by, well, what have we always done? Examples of those types of systems are like the Amish community, where they make the same products like quilts and cabinets that their grandparents made, and they use the same production methods, so forth. Um, the difference between positive economics and normative economics. Positive economics studies economics based on data and facts, and normative economics puts an opinion into it, in other words, an opinion of what's normal. So normative, normal, you have to have some sort of opinion of what's normal. A positive economic statement is simply something like the unemployment rate was 6% last year, where a normative economic statement would be implying that there's something that's normal or not normal about the situation. So something like an unemployment rate of 6%